out of town. Where are you from? Oh, that's so nice. You moved here to see your cousin.
We're from Ottawa.
Ottawa, the nation's capital. Egypt. Wow. You guys have been all over the place. You guys from Winnipeg? Originally, where are you living now? Ottawa, okay. Ah, great. And up there we got
Eagle Lake, Minnesota.
Nice.
South of Minneapolis, about an hour.
love when the neighbors drop by.
Yeah.
Thanks for visiting us.
Edmonton,
Alberta, home of my favorite aunt.
all right.
Do you know Auntie Belle?
I do.
Yeah.
She lives north
Awesome.
side.
Just turned 80, yeah. She's a firecracker. Well, welcome aboard, everybody. We are starting on the Assiniboine River, which is 1,070 kilometers of windy river. That's about 680 miles, originating close to York in a town called Priestville, Saskatchewan. And it comes to an end when it flows into the Red River behind us there on the other side of the port. We'll go over there in a bit. First, we're going to head west, turn the breeze up a little, see some fun things up this way. Lines on the concrete under the bridge, the blue, yellow, red. Believe it or not, the blue line with the waves is the normal spring melt water level of the river. That's where it rises to every spring. When 1,000 kilometers of snow and ice melt rapidly, and it's all got to squeeze through here and get to the Red River up to the blue line, it goes staying there till early to mid-May. That is totally normal. The yellow line is not totally normal. That's like a warning line, telling us to keep our eyes on this river, because if it goes up over the red line, it's up over the city of Winnipeg. Like 1950, a flood that covered 1/3 of the city, forcing 100,000 residents to evacuate. Many of them just relocated to other places. We actually lost a good chunk of our population from that 1950 flood. But 1997 wins the title Flood of the Century. Could have destroyed the city. It was far worse conditions than 1950. But luckily, the Red River floodway was in place to absorb all the damage, all that water flowing north. The floodway was built between 1963 and 1968, and it's the second largest earth-moving project in human history when it was completed. It's a massive diversion canal around the east side of the city, diverting water out of the Red as it flows north from the United States. And Duff Roblin, who had it built, lost the election following its completion because everyone thought the $63 million price tag was a massive waste of taxpayers' money. They were so mad at him for building it, but 30 years later he was still alive during the flood of 1997 to see the day when his floodway was, for day after day after day, over its rated capacity of 60,000 cubic feet per second. There was an extra 500 cubic feet per second roaring through the floodway. And this river still crept up to just below the top of the red line anyway. We were half an inch of rain from flooding, and we barely made it. And Duff was still here to say, "Told you so." And since 1997, they have more than doubled the capacity of the floodway. It can move 140,000 cubic feet per second. And it has prevented an estimated $40 billion in damage since it opened. Ontario, 1919, made from tremendous amounts of Tyndall limestone coming from rock quarries an hour north of the city. Famous for being full of 450 million-year-old fossils. Yeah, someone mentioned the Golden Boy back there. That is the Golden Boy at the very top, who was made in France, put on a ship to cross the Atlantic, got commandeered for troop transport during World War I. They had to leave the Golden Boy in the hull of the ship on the new trip tour. He ended up crossing the Mediterranean twice and the Atlantic Ocean 5 times. They finally pulled him off the boat in Halifax Harbor and put him on a train. Now, the Golden Boy is so very shiny these days because they re-gilded him in the early 2000s or mid-2000s. I think it was 2005 actually. I grew up with a very tarnished and dull-looking Golden Boy. He was originally done in the 50s. Thought he was this big my whole life too. So they brought him down and put him on display. He's 17.5 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
5.25 meters, absolute giant, but not as important as the statue at the top of the steps. That's Louis Riel, the founding father of the province of Manitoba and leader of the Métis Nation. And this is the heart of the Métis Nation. Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada on Treaty 1 territory. And Riel negotiated Manitoba's entry into Canadian Confederation July 15th of 1870, making sure there was stipulations to protect the existing way of life out here. The Red River settlement. Leverage to negotiate was achieved through the Red River resistance, taking Upper Fort Garry by force and setting up a provisional government of equal French and English speaking delegates to negotiate with the expanding country of Canada as they arrived on the prairie doorstep. This whole process, retribution for this and the execution of Thomas Scott, had Louis Riel facing a suspiciously hasty trial following the end of the Northwest resistance in Saskatchewan. About 15 years after Manitoba joined Canadian Confederation, he was convicted of high treason and executed as a traitor to Canada in 1885. But as the decades pass and the years press on, and more than just the one narrative that's been available to us for decades to learn from, there's more than one narrative now. Riel's name becomes more and more symbolically cleared of this treason label, which is extremely important for all Canadians, particularly the Métis Nation. And we celebrate Louis Riel Day now, the third Monday of every February. The provincial holiday where we thank Mr. Riel for choosing the path of most resistance. And we will see more about him on the Red River, but we got to get there first, so I'm going to turn the breeze back up and we'll head east to the Red River. left side of the boat. Popular attraction these days for visitors and locals alike. The third busiest rail yard on Earth in the late 1800s, very early 1900s. 27 rail lines from the U.S. and Canada connected in a rail yard here that went past the Museum for Human Rights. You can see the tower goes back there, serving as a transfer point in the North American Railway shipping network, like a central hub. And all the brick buildings in the port area are original buildings from that era. The Junction terminal, which is through the trees on the right. On the other side of the observation tower on the left, two short, wide brick buildings that make up your FORKS market, where all your little restaurant choices are. Those were owned by two different rail companies. And they were horse stables. Once all their goods got to Winnipeg by train, the local deliveries were done by horse and carts. A good fleet of horses. And all this area was restored starting in the 1990s. My early life was all fenced off from the public. Kind of an abandoned mess, sitting in the bush. Over the years, they've done such a fine job of fine-tuning it into the attraction that it is today. Now we're coming to the end of the Assiniboine as it flows into the Red River. The red comes up to the United States. The Guanacew and Ottertail rivers join and form the Red River along the Minnesota-North Dakota border. And it flows 800 kilometers up to Lake Winnipeg. About 550 miles. The meeting of the two rivers here is where archaeologists discovered a 6,000-year-old history of indigenous people from all over North America using it as a place of gathering. There was a dig down over the bank on the left where these curved poles are sticking out of the ground. They're in a circle now. Produced layers and layers of artifacts, including seashells indigenous to the Gulf of Mexico, alongside seashells indigenous to the coastline of British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. 3,000 kilometers or 2,000 miles away in two different directions that they dated back as far as 6,000 years, showing this was used by the indigenous people of North America, north, south, east, and west, as a place of commerce and trade thousands of years before any Europeans came anywhere near this place. And all the water goes up from here north through Lake Winnipeg to the other end into the Nelson River, flowing north past the polar bears of northern Manitoba, out Hudson's Bay to the whole wide world from there. Just to be 100% clear though, we're going to stick to the half-hour tour, okay? And I'm going to get everyone back to the dock and left on my promise. I know there's a big game going on later.